Good afternoon, everyone, and hope you're well. My name is Nada Salha, and I'm part of the KHDA family. I'm here to help bring to you yet another What Works X webinar today, and heartfelt thanks for joining us. We really do know that teachers and staff at school are very busy people, and gratitude to you all for taking the time out to come along and share the afternoon with each other. We'll be using the Menti platform as a way to engage with you all today, our wonderful viewers. So please go to menti.com and enter the code you see on your screen there, 9943985. I'll just give you a moment to do that. And you'll see the first question there on your screen. Now, today we'll be talking about virtual assessments. And before we get into the nitty-gritty, we'd love to know from you, in one word, how do you feel about conducting school assessments, particularly in these current times? We're living in a pandemic, and schools have changed, and the way we do things at school has also changed. So we'll be interested to know your thoughts on how you're feeling about conducting assessments during these times. And as you do that, I'd like to remind you that What Works X is about school collaboration, sharing what is working, and creating connections in a virtual world. Now, I'm sure many of you have been to a face-to-face What Works in the past. But even What Works has changed, and you know what? We've found that the technology has really allowed for even more teachers to participate and learn from one another. Okay, we've got a few responses coming through. Fantastic. And I can see big and bold there in the middle that a number of you have said that you've found school assessments, conducting them at the moment has been quite challenging. Difficult, anxious, hard, quite tough, depressing, perplexed, hard, hectic, tiresome. So a lot of interesting words and a lot of maybe with negative connotations, but that's absolutely fine. I mean, we are in a pandemic. It is fine to feel how you're feeling at the moment. But I can also see some words there that are quite positive, as I saw getting easier, trying to be effective, innovative, interesting. And I can also see some words there. What did I see there before? I saw unnecessary. I mean, the topic of examinations has really been a controversial topic for a number of years. And I think the pandemic has further highlighted that as well. So fantastic, but definitely challenging, difficult, hard are appearing right there in the center. So Sanjeev and team, you've got a very attentive group to help relieve some of those emotions around online assessments and conducting assessments at these times. Thank you so much. Wow, that's such a huge engagement. Over almost 80 people have responded there. Thank you so much. I'll just move on to the next question, and I'd love your thoughts around ethics and assessments. I think a lot of those words that we saw before, such as challenging and hard, relate to the ethics around virtual assessments. What are the challenges and thoughts that come to your mind when we talk about ethics in virtual assessments? What are some of those challenges? Let's give you a few moments to respond there. During the pandemic, we saw schools close physically, but obviously learning continued, and so did assessments. And I know a lot of schools, such as the school we have with us today, they've been very innovative in being able to continue to assess learning. Okay, I can see a few more words. Yes, plagiarism, time management, Googling answers. Yes, Google's been our best friend for a long time, and kids are finding their ways with Google to get good grades in a virtual assessment. Trustworthiness, reliability, effectiveness, being honest, credible, cheating, unfair, it's hard to monitor. Parent involvement. Yes, that's a really interesting one there, actually. Parent involvement, monitoring from home. Parents are helping. Wow, this is fantastic. Great. Authenticity. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, today's topic is about developing virtual assessments for the new world. And we're so thrilled to be joined by our awesome presenters from GEMS, our own high school. We'll be starting off with Sanjeev K. Jolly, Neelima Nanda, Herman Gomez, Bindu Kumar, Sindhu Madhavan, Malti Iyer, and they've just been fantastic. They've been working so hard on this presentation, and we really are in debt to the whole team presenting today. Their presentation will then be followed by a Q&A discussion, which will be facilitated by Magnus. And as you know, on webinar, on a Teams webinar platform, we can't have that verbal interaction with the audience, but please do ask questions throughout the presentation by submitting them in the chat feature to your right of your screen. And Maya is there at the back end to moderate the questions coming through on the chat feature. I will be back at the end of the session to close and seek your quick feedback using menti.com again. So just keep Menti open there in the background and we'll be coming back to Menti. So without further ado, I will now hand over to Sanjeev Jolly, Principal of GEMS, our own high school. Thank you so much, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Nada. Thank you, Maya, and thank you, Magnus. We are really grateful to KHTA for providing us this platform this evening to share the story of our own journey of assessments. This evening, as we go through the presentation, I'm sure many of you will come up with your own ideas, and as you look at things, you might think, oh yes, this is what we also do. Lovely. And you might think, oh, this is new. Let me try it out. Or you might say that, oh, we do it differently. Perfectly all right. Everyone has their own ways of doing things. But we just want to say this much, that we are here to add some drops into that vast ocean of the thought process that already exists in every school in this country and in this world. We think that we all need to spark our minds a little more, and we are here to do that. We are here so that we can continue to experiment. We wish and we hope that each one of us in our schools continue on the journey of exploration, and we keep innovating our assessments. We believe we are the catalysts today, and we want to provide that stimulus to all of you to continue on this path. After all, it's for the welfare of our children. Please allow me to introduce the team this evening. We have Neelima Nanda, who is our head of primary school, and she will be sharing the phase 2 assessment journey of our own. Mr. Herman Gomes, he is the head of middle school, and he will be sharing phase 3 assessments. Mrs. Bindu Manoj Kumar, she is the teaching learning coach and supervisor of our school, and she will share phase 4 assessments. And phase 4 assessments, I'm sure each one of you are waiting for, because they include the grade 10 and 12 CBSE board examination classes. Not to forget Mrs. Sindhu Madhavan, our head counselor, who will be sharing what we do with our special children, that would be a special presentation, and I'm sure you'll take away a lot from there. And Malti here, our primary school supervisor, she will do the honors of putting it all together at the end for us. And I would now take you through further. As we think of assessments, I'm sure all our schools do these three things in commonality. We all do these three things. And what are these and why assessments are important? What is the purpose behind them? The first one, we all evaluate. We all evaluate our students where they are when we give them the outcomes of our assessments. The second thing what we do, all of us, is we introspect. We introspect and we look at what has gone well and what has not gone so well in terms of children's outcomes, in terms of teachers' preparation and assessments. And the third thing we all do, I'm sure we all do that, and that is we plan the way forward. We plan how and what to do now after we see the outcomes of our assessments. So these three things are the basic tools and the basic purposes why we all do assessments. But our own high school this year, in this new post-COVID era, has added one more dimension, and that is of accountability. What we have done is we have not transferred accountability, but we have shared the accountability of assessments with our children and our parents. Now you'll ask, what is that? Wait, this will be clarified by our team when they present what this actually means. So I would like to share with you two aspects of assessments. One is the challenges. Yes, this assessment pattern has also brought up a lot of challenges. The first one being the performance variables challenge. Internet connectivity in the house of a child makes all the difference. Sometimes the systems are slow, sometimes they are fast, sometimes internet is coming, sometimes it's not coming. These challenges are there which affect assessments. The device that the child uses, sometimes it is compatible and sometimes it is not with the software that we are using for our day-to-day transactions as well as assessments. The physical challenges also affect assessments. The typing speed of a child. Sometimes the child is not able to respond on time, or sometimes it goes wrong with the autocorrect. And sometimes the posture of a child who's sitting in front of a screen for a longer period of time, and if his back or her back starts paining, it affects screen time, sometimes the eyesight. That also affects the assessments. External factors, we all know, like a dedicated workspace at home makes a difference. If a child does not have that, sometimes it is a lot of effect on what the child is giving as an output. Sometimes the peers at home, sometimes the number of devices for all the siblings at home also affect. The noise factor is definitely an important aspect, which is a great challenge in these assessments because of the sounds affecting what we hear and what we speak. And yes, the ethics, the trustworthiness. Are these assessments fair? And we've already seen in our Menti.com question problems of plagiarism, problems of parental support, problems of Googling. We in our school take care through our professional development sessions with our teachers, with our parents, and with our students. We do coffee mornings. We use our moral instruction classes to actually educate our children that why it is important that they should be honest to their assessments. And we can talk about this more and more. But if this happens continuously, there will be a change because there will be an intrinsic motivation for the child to give the assessments honestly. And all these challenges definitely affect the outcomes because the reliability, the efficacy and the validity of the outcomes depends upon these challenges. But as humans as we are, we don't worry about challenges. We look at opportunities. And there are opportunities in today's world. We all know instant feedback is a great one. The moment we come to know what has happened in the assessment, we save time by planning ahead on time. Our assessments are futuristic. These children are getting prepared for their future. The assessments they have to give later on, like SAT, TOEFL, IELTS, international benchmarking assessments, all are online assessments. So our assessments of the school online prepare them for their future. We all know our assessments are flexible and customizable. How they are, I leave it to my team to explain that to you in the time to come. And we all know the benefit of these being environmental friendly. How much of savings we do, we don't print. And the most important opportunity that has come our way in these assessments is the learning of our teaching community. The learning index of our teachers is at the highest. This opportunity, which we had to get in a matter of 2 to 3 years, we got it in a matter of 2 to 3 months. And we are grateful to what has happened. And that takes me now to open the presentation and ask my colleague, Mrs. Nilima Nanda, to take over from here and start off with phase 2. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to everyone once again. I would now take you through assessments as we do them in phase 2, the youngest of a lot. We have ongoing assessments in our, informal assessments are ongoing in our lessons all the time using different tools that are available. But what do we do for our formal assessments? In our formal assessments, in the term 1 that we have just concluded, it was made up of 2 periodic tests. The periodic test 1 was further broken into unit test 1 and unit test 2, as these were conducted at the beginning of the term. Why were they broken up was because our children were new to the remote learning platform and to the assessment from the home environment. Now, as we moved on, we realized that children were learning very, very quickly, quick learners. Periodic test 2, in order to strengthen the assessment process, we added 2 new components in addition to the objective type of questions. These were the activity-based assessment that was self-evaluated by students and the subjective type of questions. For the activity-based assessments, we made students accountable. We empowered them to self-evaluate their work with the help of assessment tools that were given to them in the form of rubrics and success criteria. For the students in the lower primary, this was done under parental guidance. Students were assigned a task that they could complete at home or a project that could be done with simple materials available at home. So what happened was we made our children evaluate themselves and make them accountable for 25% of the assessment, and the rest of the 75% was teacher evaluated. I will share some samples with you now. Here you see is an assignment given to the child with the instructions are given where he is doing an investigation. Now, I would like you to hear what the child has to say through this video.
Ms. Nilima, if you can kindly share it with sound, please.
Yeah, just a moment then. I think I did share it. I'll redo that. Sorry.
Okay.
Which two surfaces are sliding and slows the moving object? I have two made with sandpaper, which is rough, and another ramp which is smooth, and it's made out of normal paper. Let's see. I have two cars, and let's see which one will go faster. Ready, steady, and go. Why did the blue car go faster? Let's think. The blue car went faster because the friction on the smooth surface is less, and the car on the rough surface went slow because the friction on the rough surface is more. I hope you understand the relation between the rough surface and the smooth surface. Thank you, Rajita ma'am, for teaching us this topic, friction. Thank you and bye-bye.
Moving on, this is another project-based assessment that was given to children. Here the child has video recorded himself making his project on a satellite. So here we go. So this was again made, as you can see, using simple materials that are available at home, and the child is working independently. Here his satellite is ready. Now moving on, the other types of assessments were the subjective and the objective type. The objective type was given on MS Forms, which was auto-graded. Now different part this time in the periodic test 2 assessments was the subjective element, where the teacher has also given her diagnostic comments after the children have submitted it. This helped the children in understanding the way forward. Of course, we did train our teachers in how to go about it using the online tools available to them. And children too were trained on how to make these online submissions. Thank you. That's it from me. Now I hand over to my colleague, Mr. Herman Gomes, Head of Middle School, to take you forward.
Thank you, Nilima. Good evening to one and all. I'm here to take you further with the different components of the assessments in phase 3. We have the formal assessments made of objective, which comprises of the MCQ, the fill in the blanks, one-word answer, true and false, and then we have the subjective long answer type questions, the descriptive type. These are evaluated by the teachers, and below you'll see the mark distribution. In addition to the formal assessment comprising objective and subjective, we have the activity-based assessment and home assignment. Taking you further, we brought about the activity-based aspect of assessment, providing multiple alternatives, ways of learning and evaluation in order to make our students independent, creative learners responsible for their own learning with accountability, which the principal just mentioned. We design an activity-based assessment using CBSE guidelines, where they proposed the alternative academic calendar, or for short AAC, for this year. We have engaged the students to make learning more joyful and activity-based learning keeping their age in mind, elements of enjoyment, do-it-yourself, activity projects, which I think Nilima has just shared with you. So there were subject-specific activities given for students. The subject teachers shared the success criteria, rubrics, the timeline for submission for the activity-based assessment, which is self-evaluated by the student. Besides this, we added the home assignment. We initiated the home assignment to develop our students as independent learners. Responsible for their own learning, students are provided with an assignment on a given topic. So this home assignment is to be completed by the child within a scheduled time duration of 2 hours on the days scheduled. The schedule for these are shared by the teachers earlier. Now, with regards to evaluation, what we thought, since parents are an integral part of a child's learning process, we invite parents to guide the student while they self-assess their work with the help of rubrics provided by the teacher. Now, what this does, it basically enriches the learning experience of the child. Once the grading process is complete, the child's self-assessed work is uploaded with the grades on MS Teams, according to the guidance provided by the teacher, and most importantly, within the timeline mentioned in the instruction. Here below, you will see the mark distribution of student evaluation. Now we'll share some samples with you. Here you will see a sample of English, an objective type. This is scheduled for a specific time assigned on MS Teams. Once the assessment is taken and submitted, it is auto-graded. Can you move to the next one, please? The next slide you see is a scanned copy of mathematics, which is uploaded on the files folder of MS Teams. In case he has a problem, they mail it to the teacher, where the teacher checks it and returns it with her remarks and grading. Moving on, we have yet another sample in science where the teacher evaluates it on the MS Teams and returns it with her remarks or feedback. Moving on, the next one is a home assignment sample where the instructions clearly mention what is expected of them. It's basically a case study with a self-assessing rubric. The next one, can you move on, please? Thank you. Here is one more activity-based assessment in UAE Social Studies with a self-assessing rubric. In the next one, here is an Arabic assessment which is scanned and uploaded on MS Teams. The teacher evaluates it and returns it with his feedback. That's it from me for phase 3. To take you further, I now hand it over to Ms. Bindu Manoj Kumar, who will take you through phase 4 assessments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A very happy evening to all out there. I'm Bindu Manoj Kumar, Teaching and Learning Supervisor, and I'm here to brief you on the assessment pattern that we followed in phase 4. Keeping in mind the fact that phase 4 students of grades 10 and 12 are appearing for the board exam, We wanted the students to familiarize with the pen and paper mode of testing in PT2 after PT1, which was purely paperless testing. So along with the objective and subjective types of assessments as shared in phase 2 and 3, there were a few need-based variations we incorporated for phase 4 assessments this time. In phase 4, the additional incorporated highlights were what you can see in bold on your screen. In line with the CBSE requisite, we introduced the component of pen and paper testing of 80 marks for a duration of 2.5 hours for the first time since the pandemic mode. To bring in further accountability, along with the teacher evaluation of the pen and paper answer scripts, we also included the module of self-evaluation by our students. One more best bit was the art integrated projects for evaluation, and in grades 11 and 12, as you can see, the practicals evaluating component was also included this time. Now I shall take you through a few student samples submitted after the implementation of the plan. Here you can see sample papers evaluated by our students. What strongly came up after we got these sheets back was the self-realization, accountability, and taking responsibility for their learning, which came out very evidently. Now, how do you know that the students have evaluated the papers aptly was the next question. So soon after the pen and paper test, all the scanned sheets of the answer scripts were sent to the respective teachers within 15 minutes of the end time. This included the sheets for the self-evaluation along with the sheets for the teacher evaluation part. The same day, the marking scheme was uploaded and the students did the self-evaluation and scanned copy of the evaluated paper and sent it to the respective teacher, latest by the next day. Since the teacher already had the scanned copy of the same, ratification was of course possible if required. But we were very happy to see that over 90% of our students self-evaluated appropriately, and they did take the responsibility for their learning. The next slide, please. Yes, thank you, Nilima. The next highlight was the introduction of art integrated projects as per CBSE guidelines. Art integrated learning was introduced in every subject and is considered for internal assessment score for the final marking as well. So the subject teachers used simple art forms in the lessons and gave opportunities for students to enjoy the planned art activities. While they are experiencing the beauty of art, they also learned and articulated the core concept of different subjects and application from their daily life. The rationale of art integration is a cross-curricular pedagogical approach that utilizes various aspects and forms of art and culture as the basis for experiencing the learning of concepts. This art integrated approach is to use art as a tool to teach other subjects, and it strengthens the linkages between education and culture. So the focus here was accepting art as a medium of the learning process, and hence we extended it further as one of our evaluative element for PT2. There was flexibility provided in action and submission of projects as well. What you can see on your screen is a sample of a grade 9 group project developed using the design thinking approach, which involved, of course, the generating ideas, bundling the ideas, selecting top 5 ideas, and then prototyping. Here you can see the prototypes created after the process. So the basic objectives of all these plans were to reinforce the skills, practice and organizing of the information, to provide a kinesthetic tool for organizing and analyzing learning through collaboration, to provide unique ways to make study guides and practice materials, and to provide students with a sense of ownership in their learning, which is the most important to craft the 21st learners of today. Individual project submission was also permissible, as you can see. Here the student has drafted the whole project plan with clear-cut steps. The model making video was either directly sent to the teacher or uploaded on a YouTube channel, which was then evaluated. This is a fast-forwarded sample of one such video submission of the individual project. It was based on a math chapter of shapes. Here you can see the student is working with materials easily available at home, which has also been one of the guidelines for the projects. The main challenge in PT2 was how do we prepare them for pen and paper testing during online assessment. And we can proudly say that we were quite successful in the whole process. Why do we say so? I shall take you through the planned process quickly, which evidences the pre-assessment preparations which were in place. At first, training sessions for teachers on evaluation means were conducted, followed by students being given clear-cut instructions by the segment supervisor and the teachers on etiquettes to be followed during the exam, and about the scan and mail process to send the answer scripts back to their teachers after the assessment. It was followed by taking advantage of the mock sessions a week prior to the PT2, during which a similar planned assessment process was initiated. Now, what was the benefit of the mock sessions week was that it helped us immensely in order to iron out the challenges by putting in required interventions as visible on your screen. You can see the challenges were identified during the 3 steps of assessment process and the remedial measures we followed, which helped us to make the process further secure. First was, how do we avoid delays which may arise at times to start a test due to connectivity issue for opening the pre-assigned paper. For this, we had a plan B in place, that is either by uploading the question paper in the general post when the assessment begins, or sending by mail so that all students can start the assignment on time. Next challenge was during the assessment. How do we monitor the students, which has come up quite well in the Mentimeter question. Initially in teams, we had an option of viewing only 9 students at a time on the screen. And later it was enhanced to a larger gallery with a view of all students in a class, whom the teacher could closely monitor through the large BenQ screens installed in our classrooms. To make this process further secure, in the next PT3 assessment, we have few other plans in place. That is, to conduct the assessment in smaller groups in 2 slots for the students in a particular class, as well as to conduct viva-voce after the exam on a one-to-one basis. Next question was to overcome the identified post-assessment challenge, which was a bigger one compared to the previous 2 steps. After the assessment, the immediate task for the students was to send back the written answer scripts. And being the first time, there was a little more time flexibility provided for mailing back their scripts. And it was done to a dedicated email ID created by each subject teacher for this purpose. Students scanned and sent it by renaming with their roll numbers first, so it could be automatically saved in the teacher folder as per the class list order. Next challenge was, of course, the paper correction of the soft copy received. So our teachers, I would say, did it very, very successfully by either using a stylus for correction on the laptop or the tabs, or also some of them had opted for correcting on the printed physical copy. After marking the paper, the extra lines and annotations increased the file size, and the teacher wouldn't be able to return it to the students by mail. So in such cases, the Google Transfer option was used. Other options used for this was by sending through our virtual learning platform, the Phoenix Classroom, or by uploading on Teams class notebook. So now I'm sure you would agree with what I said in the beginning, that we were pretty successful in the whole process. But yes, there would always be a space for improvement, and we are also having further plans to make our assessment more robust. So that's all from me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patient hearing. And before I end, seeing your response to the first Mentimeter question. To all the dear teachers out there, we salute you as you have proved beyond doubt that whatever may happen, you are there for the learners. Now I request my colleague, Ms. Sindhu Madhavan, lead counselor, to take us forward. Thank you, Nilima ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. Let me just take you through two case studies to explain our flexibility and how we have customized assessment to support our special learners. Now, here, my first learner for today is a grade 5 student with learning disability and ADHD. Now, to understand any student, what support is given, it's very important we understand a little bit about his background. Now, this child comes from a very big family with 8 siblings and is a first generation learner. This implies that the parents cannot support him or assist him in academics to develop his academic skills. His motivation to learn also is very low, and then his ADHD, which interferes with his learning. Now, good thing about this child is he's an absolute charmer. He can talk anyone into his stories. He's excellent with his negotiation, makes friends very easily. We also found that his strength, that is, his photogenic memory is excellent. If he learns something, he remembers the page number, in which part of the page it is. So this, we took it as to our strand, how we can further develop it. His comprehension is very good, provided that he is taken step by step through the process. Now, with these challenges, we also saw for the assessment, the challenges for him to stay on task and complete it. Keeping in these challenges and strength in mind, we had some preparation prior to the assessment. One is this child had opted for distance learning. So the task for the special educator was, he made a special request. He spoke to the parents, told the parents, why don't you send the child to school? Because when it's face-to-face support, it will help him better. Parents agreed and the child came to school. So that was one support that we thought will definitely help him do his assessments better. Second, as we knew that he works well with rewards and consequences. With the help of the parents, the special educator got into a behavioral contract with him. The contract was very clearly defined with the awards and the consequences. We focused only on two aspects, preparing for the assessment and appearing for the assessment. Now we know this child loves online games. His reward was extra 15 minutes of games if he did the task, and the consequences that we came upon was the device would be taken away for a day if he does not do his task. In between, in one of the assessments, it so happened he refused to prepare for the assessment. His parent informed us that he has not studied today and he's not cooperating with us. So as agreed in the behavior contract, the device was taken away for a day. Now, the consistent implication of these kind of contract, what happens is the desired behavior strengthens, and it was very evident. He became more accountable for his own behavior, and he started preparing for his other assessments. Apart from this, what our teachers and the special educator walked him through the steps of assessment. Now, this was a little bit more than the other students because he needed to go more step by step, how to log in, after login, what is he supposed to do, and what is the expectations of an examination, what he can expect and what is expected of him. Both was very clearly defined to him. Coming to this is what about the prior assessment. Now coming to during his assessment, the support that we provided was he could use text to speech assistive technology. But as you know, this child with attention deficit, only a technology would still be a challenge for him. He wouldn't be able to focus much. So we wanted the special educator to be there face to face, prompting him to read the questions. Sometimes we have to encourage him to reread the questions for understanding it better. The questions were break down for him so that he understood part of the question, then he did the other part. So one support is making the child understand the question before he answers. With this child, he also has a tendency to jump questions and then he just skips it, he forgets about it. So here the special educator would help him focus on one question at a time, help him organize his assessment so that he go one at a time, and that helps. But all this happens with a lot of constant encouragement. We need to keep telling him, yes, you're on the right track. You're doing really a good job. We also prompted him to read the question, stop, think. Because with the children with hyperactivity, they want to finish the assessment faster and then get away with it. So that time, telling him all the time, listen, no, think about it before you put in your answer, was a very strong support that this child received. Another challenge we saw after the first paper was that the transition period from the objective assessment to say subjective assessment. This short transition period also got him very distracted. So if there was a 10 minutes transition period, then for us it took another 20-25 minutes to get him back to the task. So it was a huge problem. Immediately action was put in place. We thought about having continuous one assessment for him. So he is in the same mode to continue with this assessment, and it does not affect his performance. We know the support worked for him because his performance had improved from the previous assessment, and also we see the motivation level in him, which is now much better. He's more interested in preparing himself. So the behavior contract really worked for this child. Now, coming to my second learner, that's the grade 7 student. He has intellectual disability. This child is also supported at level 3. If you look at his additional challenges, performance anxiety. He gets very anxious if his classmate submits a paper before him and he's still writing. So if you look at the preparation prior to the assessment, it was similar to the previous child. But the support during the assessment was different. The approach that we had for him was different. The combination of supports were different. Here, the counselor worked with him during the assessment, and we supported him online. He could not come to school for a face-to-face, so we had to support him online. A private channel was created for his assessment where he would personally give the assessment with the counselor. So his day would look something like this. The counselor would start with a pep talk before the examination. A general well-being questions like, how was your day? How are you today? Did you have your breakfast? Did you sleep well? These kind of questions helped him stay calm. This child diagnosed with intellectual disability, also has modified curriculum. So his question paper was different. It was simpler than the other students as per our modification policy. Uh, Again, he was encouraged to read and understand the question. But here we had a different thing in place for him. That is, he had to first express orally his answer. He has to say out his answer before writing it. This helped him organize his thoughts, structure his answer before writing it. So his presentation of answer was better when we did it this way than when he directly wrote the answers. He also needed a lot of reassurance. So the counselor has to continually reassure him, like yes, you're doing a good job, well done, it's going very well. Of course, at the end of the assessment for him, he needed that big pat on his back saying that assurance that you have done this, performed very well. And we would talk him into, how to prepare for the next paper, which is the next paper, how well prepared you are. A lot of talking around the assessment, during the assessment, after the assessment helped this child. So with these two examples, what I'm trying to communicate is we plan the support for our students of determination like the IEP. You have to consider the challenge of the child, the strength of the child, the circumstance in which the child is. And the focus is always of the inclusion team to create a very conducive environment for the student to express his learning. That is what is important, that we understand and we are able to evaluate what is the learning, what is the progress. So with this, I hope the flexibility and how we customized our assessment is clear. And thank you so much for listening to me. I request Mrs. Malti Iyer, who will take it forward from here, to come. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sindhu. My colleagues have taken you through the process of assessments that we followed in our school, the challenges that we faced and how we overcame some of them. I would now like to share some of the testimonials that we received from our stakeholders, which has been very encouraging. Students felt that the well-organized exams helped them prepare for the board exams. They were very happy with the opportunity to assess their work and to check whether their evaluated work tallied with that of their teacher. The teachers felt that the frequency and the variety of assessments helped them gauge students' performance well and put in relevant interventions in order to prevent knowledge gaps. They also felt that the 15-odd cyclic assessments that we conducted from the month of April had a positive impact on student learning, including students of determination. Parents felt that the process was smooth and hassle-free. They appreciated the continuous assessment and the conscious effort taken to identify learning needs and the efforts taken to address them. Some of the post-COVID growth opportunities that we see is the increased frequency of assessments, which will help us monitor students, the maximized participation of students during AFLs, the real-time feedback that we receive from these assessments since they are online, which helps us in putting in immediate interventions like revisiting concepts. The assessment outcomes help teachers modify and improve their plans. We've also seen that we are able to cater to different needs of learners. And last but not least, these assessments are environment friendly, as we all know that it takes 10 liters of water to make one sheet of paper. However, there are some areas that we are continuously reflecting on. We feel that we should have a combination of pen and paper and online assessments. There should be flexibility in the mode of submission, depending on the need of learners. We should have system controls in place, which was a concern which was raised even during the Menti.com question, is to make assessment process much more secure. Stringent controls should also be in place during the assessment process, like monitoring students through their cameras, monitoring what they are doing, the paper that they are showing, the importance of timing the assessments well. And I feel the involvement of stakeholders in the design as well as the evaluation process helps a lot. As we all know that for students, self-assessment has been known to have many positive implications. from improved metacognitive skills, increased self-awareness, and to a greater sense of autonomy and empowerment. With that, we have come to the end of our presentation. I would like to once again thank the KHDA officials for giving us this opportunity to present our thoughts. And a very big thank you to all of you for giving us your valuable time.
Thank you so much, all of you. I want to say a big thank you to Principal Sanjeev and the head of primary school, Nilima, head of middle school, Herman, teaching and learning supervisor, Bindu, head counselor, Sindhu, and primary supervisor, grades 1 to 3, Malti, that we just heard. Some very insightful and fantastic tips. I'm sure the audience are very grateful. We will now, I know due to shortness of time, we're going to try and do this Q&A bit shorter than normal. We'll try and focus solely on the live questions that we've received so far. So I'll go in with the first one. First question, what to do if students don't switch on cameras during assessment? What's your...
Can I take that question, please?
Yes, thank you.
In our framework, when we started online teaching in school, and at that very moment, these questions came to our mind. So we had designed a kind of a contract, which was shared with the parents and the students. And one of those points were that these are the netiquettes the children have to follow. And they had to switch on their camera, and if they did not, these were the consequences. So when you have a contract with the parents, with the students initially, that sets the pace of what will happen if someone doesn't follow the rules. And when they don't follow them, we have to implement the actions. And you heard in our presentation that when one of our SOD children did not follow the rule, the impact was there. His device was taken away. And therefore, in this manner, when we are firm in what we say and we have contracts beforehand and we guide our children and parents correctly, such situations become very rare. And the understanding of what will happen when the child doesn't follow something has to be implemented. And that goes in the long run best for everyone.
Fantastic. Just a technical one here. Was the question paper uploaded on MS Teams assignment for written exam? You just, what is your...
Yes, yes, it was. Yeah, but then what happened was, like in our day of assessments, in the morning when the assessment begins, our morning begins a day earlier. So what we do is we upload the paper, or we assign the paper in the evening before with a time set to open it up. So therefore that helps us, as well as in the morning before the assignment begins, we have 15 minutes of a interactive session between the teacher and the students of the class, making sure that everyone is in. So every child of the school is accountable and has been taken care. And if the child has any problems, those are attended to before the assignment begins. So this is the culture of the school. So that helps a lot.
And when the students submit the replies, there's a question here. In what format does the student email the paper? Is it in JPEG or is it PDF? And what digital tool teachers use to correct the same?
Bindu Manoj Kumar, ma'am, you had shared that. Can you please, yeah.
Yes, sir, sure. In fact, they used to send it back to us in PDF. And I have shared in my presentation, teachers were using the stylus for corrections, as well as some of the teachers preferred doing it as our previous mode, that is by printing out the physical copy. But yes, while sending it back, that's what I indicated in my presentation, with the added markings, what was happening is the file was getting heavy. So we used the Google transfer to return it back to the students, or through the class notebook in Teams, and virtual classroom, Phoenix Classroom, through which again, that was another mode of returning it. But it was in the PDF format they used to send it to us.
Thank you, Bindu, for that answer. And now just regarding sort of a more technical subject like physics, for instance, how do you evaluate a child when it comes to the practical stuff, essentially? Grade 12 students, for instance.
Yeah, may I?
Yes, Bindu, please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. Now, in the case of practicals, we have the O labs, which was referred for. That is what I showed in that screen when I was explaining. We had the objective types of questions related to those experiments. That is one. And second, we had the simulation experiments again, some of it which was demonstrated in the lab, for which the questions based on that as of the previous PT2. But now we have the blended learning where children are coming to the school for the practicals, and the next assessment will be reviewed based on what they are performing in the labs as of now.
Thank you, Bindu. Another question here regarding, could you please share any particular platform used for assessment other than Teams or Google Forms?
Neelima ma'am, would you like to pitch in?
Yes, thank you. See now, by and large, it was Microsoft the platform that was being used, but wherever there were challenges, we allowed students, especially students who were out of the UAE, to send us their responses in the audio format. They had connectivity issues, so we accepted their responses in the audio format as well. As well as they could write down as they did across the school. They wrote it, scanned it, and even emailed it to us if there were issues with the Microsoft platform.
Thank you so much. Apart from counseling the students, what other measures did you take to ensure no malpractice happens during assessment?
See, counseling the students is one, but we are also working on coffee mornings and counseling the parents.
Correct,
all the stakeholders have to come into this picture. So when we counsel the parents and make them understand why it is important that your child must be there and not you. Why is it important that your child should be honest? So what happens is the parents become the teachers at home. So they know the value in what their child has to do honestly. So we are taking our stakeholders' help as if we are not physically there, but the parent tells the child, see, this is the reason why you should answer and not I should help you. This is why, because it's your life, it's your future. Today I may help you, but tomorrow you will be all alone. So this kind of taking the stakeholders together is very important. And also we used our, moral instruction classes, our life skill classes to educate the value in what the children have to do and why they should do that. Basically, it is all about intrinsic motivation. If the child becomes honest from inside, then we don't have a worry, you see, and that's the whole idea. I mean, because we are educators, we have to, awaken the souls of our children. And if that happens, I think the whole task is easy for us.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev, and thank you to all your colleagues and your team. Wonderful presentation and some fantastic answers here to the Q&A. I'm afraid we are out of time, so I'm going to hand over to my colleague Nada to finish up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev and team. Wow, what a presentation. Really in depth to all of your hard work there. And I will join one of the speakers that said before, we salute you all for being there for the learners, and that includes all of you here on the call as well. And we, as even KHDA, teachers, parents, I mean, we're all learners during these very interesting times that we're currently living in. So we have another Menti question up on the screen for you. What would be the first thing you do to support students with virtual assessments? And I can already see a number of responses there. Just give you a few moments to just share with us after this presentation. Yes, hello, sorry, I think I got disconnected. Can you hear me now, Maya?
Yes, thank you, Nada. Now we can.
Okay, great, sorry about that. So I can see that a lot of you have been given confidence in conducting virtual assessments to guide students properly to be calm and prepared well-being. And I know the team touched on a number of support interventions and networks they have for their students, as well as for the parents. I really liked what Sanjeev said about parents and educating parents on their role. And when parents understand why it's important not to oversee their assessments and help them, they will then take a step back. Excellent. I'll just leave that up there for a little moment. So this session has been recorded, and you will find a copy of this recording on the In This Together Dubai website from tomorrow. Feel free to revisit the presentation, have a look at it. We had, I think, almost 300 attendees today, which is a fantastic response, but also shows that more information on this is needed. And thank you to Sanjeev and the team for helping to provide some insight into all of this. So more honesty, giving clear instructions, a wonderful session. Talk to them, ensure that they are comfortable with adapting to the changing scenario, and prepare them for class via model examinations. Fantastic. Thank you so much for all of your comments, your feedback, the generosity from GEMS, our own high school team. Really, you've been fantastic, and we hope to bring more sessions like this in the future. So please do visit our website for a list of future What Works X webinars. And thank you very much, everybody. We wish you a lovely evening and a lovely rest of the week. And thank you so much. Stay well. Goodbye.
Thank you.